Adam Eason here again for another episode of The Variation Station. Last episode, I discussed the goals and expectations for this video series, as well as important qualities to look for when selecting a theme to write variations on. If you've somehow stumbled into this video first, I recommend you check out the introductory video. I've left a link to it in the description below. For the first variation exploration, we will focus only on the melody. Harmony will come at a later point. In this video, I'm going to go over three crucial elements to musicality: tempo, dynamics, and articulation. These three aspects of music are rarely covered in music theory texts, and so sometimes appear superfluous to our understanding of music. And yet, taken together, tempo, dynamics, and articulation have an enormous influence on the perception and expression of what would otherwise seem to be the exact same notes. Because of this outsized impact, it seems a wise place to start. Of course, we need a theme to start with. I'll use a song familiar to many a Suzuki student, Lightly Row. The song, as given by the Suzuki Book, is to be played at a moderate tempo, neither too fast nor too slow, is marked mezzo forte, neither too loud nor too soft, and contains no articulation markings, meaning no individual note gets any special emphasis by being played with more or less detachment from the notes around it. It's the Goldilocks of music. The song sounds like this. The easiest of the three musical qualities to understand is tempo. All it refers to is the speed at which we play something. We can take Lightly Row and play it fast, or slow. Some tempo markings you'll see for fast might include allegro or presto. For slow, you might see andante or adagio. There are many others. I've linked a vocab list in the description so that you can learn them at your own pace. You'll often find you want music to speed up or slow down in the middle of a song. If you want the performer to speed up, you mark accelerando, and if you want the performer to slow down, you mark ritardando. The next musical idea is dynamics, which refers to how loudly or softly we play a piece. The theme started mezzo forte, or medium strong. On the louder side, we have forte, which means strong, and fortissimo, which means very strong. On the soft side, we have piano, which is gentle, and pianissimo, which is very gentle. Music would get boring pretty fast if everything were the same dynamic all the time, so we can mark music with a crescendo, telling the performer to gradually get louder, or a decrescendo, telling the performer to gradually play softer. Finally, we can tell the performer to make sudden changes in dynamic by including the word subito, abbreviated with an S before the piano or forte marking. Sometimes this indication is unnecessary, and will be understood by context. The last concept we'll play with is articulation. In music, articulation refers to how we start and end a note. For beginnings, notes can be accented, meaning the very beginning of a pitch receives extra emphasis. These accents can be dramatic and hard, or more subtle, or anywhere in between. For endings, notes may be staccato, meaning there is a rather abrupt end to the note and a bit of space between it and the next note, like this. Or they may be legato, where the space between one note and the next should be barely perceptible, like this. Even further, two or more different pitches may be slurred together, in which a string player does not change bow direction, or a wind player doesn't retongue each pitch. It'll sound like this. In addition to these, there are all manner of articulation techniques which are unique to each instrument. If you are an instrumentalist, making a variation of a simple tune in which you use a technique you are struggling with is an excellent way to practice. Of course, all of the above may be mixed and matched at your pleasure. Here are a couple of ways to articulate the same phrase, putting several techniques together. Like tempo instructions, there are many articulation instructions you will want to become familiar with. I've also included a link to a vocab list for these as well. If you're new to music, this will seem like an overwhelming number of words. There's no rush. I recommend you pick a word or two a day and write a variation using that concept. After a couple of weeks of doing that, you'll have worked through the whole list, and it will be much easier to review any vocabulary which didn't quite stick. Also, because these markings are super common in written music, reading them will become second nature regardless. Still, making and playing these variations is an excellent way to internalize these ideas. Finally, here are a couple of variations I wrote, utilizing combinations of different tempi, dynamics, and articulations. Since each musical element compounds with the others to build the music we hear, the variations almost sound like different songs, even though they all use the same notes and rhythms. Give a listen. And that's all for today. If you enjoyed this video and want to keep up with future installments, go ahead and click that subscribe button. Then you'll know when you can join me next time when we start tinkering with rhythm. Thanks for listening, and happy composing.